Finally, I'm already in. And like right off the bat, I'm here in the red. I'm having real. Yes, well, it's because you're here. Yeah, for the last hour, Restream has just sat there with a circle that was spinning. I mean, I'm not kidding. The last hour, it's just been spinning. I've been sitting here drawing, waiting, and I'd look up there, and it was still spinning, and I'd look up again, and it was still spinning, and I'm like, really? Yeah, I thought about going back through there and cutting out some of them because a couple of them we were in a little bit of some rougher discussion topics, and I was like, maybe we should do something about that. Like one of them says something like death to right wingers, and I'm like, because you don't know the context of that discussion. We weren't actually saying that, you know. So it was weird. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. I don't know what happened this morning. 9 o'clock, I was sitting here and I hit start and it went. I think that was what it was right-handed people, or I don't know what it was, but whatever was the story, it looks. I've been meaning to go back in and kind of fix up some of those things anyway, because like there's the shot of Pepper and me, and for some reason it's just frozen. And then all of a sudden Pepper waves. And it's like, I don't know why the video's not rolling in that. I mean, there's just there's one or two kind of moments there. So anyway, I don't know. While we were, hello, McApple Custard. Oh, I love that name. I just like McApple Custard. It just sounds, I don't know. You ever wonder why McDonald's doesn't do apple custard? Apple pies are pretty good for McDonald's. All weirdness. No, honestly, legitimately, that's just weirdness. I love the apple pies from McDonald's and regret eating them all the time. Oh, man. So, I mean, I kind of, and I've got a good guess where you're coming in from. Mostly because I have quite a number of buddies from down under. But where are you coming in from? Because we're running out of the. See, that's the thing, right? Totally. Every time the show is over, I always end up like singing "Man from La Mancha." Go to old down under, huh? We're well, gosh, it's like, well, no, I guess it's not that late for you guys down there. It is. You'd be on roughly, so it's midnight there, yeah? Like midnight-ish, 11 p.m. midnight-ish, depending on where you are. I guess if you're way on the other side of if you're not in Melbourne or Sydney and you're on the other side of the continent, it could be like 10, right? Or 9. I guess it could be pretty late. Yeah, I don't know. 2 a.m. You're definitely on the Melbourne Sydney side. That's interesting. No, you're not on the Melbourne Sydney side, are you? Yeah, I know. Seriously. And if you are, I feel for you. Guess I was up at 1:30 this morning as well. Couldn't sleep. I noticed that the older I get, the older I get, the less sleep I get. And there are studies out there. There are all these studies that keep saying that if you don't sleep, you die earlier. And I'm like, that's great. And the anxiety of that alone makes me not sleep. I keep thinking that's not a good thing. Yeah, that's what I got. Get coffee. So that nerd, where are you coming in from? I, you've been when you were here last time. I don't think we asked you that, or did we? Did we ask you that? I should probably alert the other guys that we're back up and running. We are back up and running. Important because Ken will join us at some point. New Zealand. So Brent is saying something referring to an interesting joke that not a joke I had learned. Not so good US of A. I think we had this discussion before because I seem to remember that you were talking about that last time. Yeah. So the old joke that I learned when I was over in Japan is if you get the accent like I've got, you ask if we're Canadian because Canadians get really bent out of shape if they're asked if they're Americans, but Americans don't mind if they're Canadians. And it's the same thing with the down under accent. You ask if they're New Zealanders because the Kiwis get really bent if you ask them if they're Aussies, but the Aussies don't seem to care if they're asked if they're Kiwis. And I was noticing it's interesting because that was something we had learned the hard way because we got a couple of people who were quite bent, and that was not as much fun as it should have been, especially when they had been drunk and drinking for a while. It's like, well, this is not going well for us. I think that's an ongoing thing. I have a very good friend who lives in Melbourne, and he and I exchange all kinds of entertaining jokes now, specifically stereotype jokes. We like the stereotype jokes; they're funny. All right, for those of you guys who are here, we are. Hey, Adley Brooke, welcome to the show. I mean, I've got to admit, this is like doing fine. How are you? I need to start up the music. We've got some background music we can put on here. I think I might have. Where are you calling in from? I guess calling in. I'm from the old days. I'm a Gen Xer, and so like I'm used to radio shows where it's like, where are you calling in from? I'm calling in from down the street. And, okay. So I stream every day and every night right now. We stream from 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. to noon, or 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Mountain Time, Mountain U.S. time. And then we stream again at night from 10 to midnight. And usually it's me and a guy named Kayan, we're both manga style artists. And we have two completely different styles of work that we do. And sometimes we get Rafael Maldonado Bad Hand, who is, I don't know what I would call him, contemporary comic artist. And sometimes we get Colton at Colt's Art, who is another contemporary style artist. So we don't need any really work at this time for the stream. However, if you're working, part of kind of what the Quasar Art Collective is all about is all of us kind of staying. It's a come on, I keep losing the word. Help me out, Brent. What's the stream? Kind of keeping you on task, whatever that word is. I can't think. I have attention deficit, and that means aphasia. It means that I lose. Yeah, project manager Brent here. Help me out here. In fact, Brent is doing exactly what we talk about here. So you can join us every day, and just chat with us and talk with us. And while you're sitting here, you can just be here and do your work and tell us what you're doing and that kind of thing. And we just sit around and chat while drawing. I'm a very extroverted, outgoing sort of person, and I'm an artist. So you're already joined. You joined. Just hang with us every day. Um, Actually, joining the actual video stream is kind of a pain in the butt, but you can be here and talk with us, and we will talk with you, and you can sit down and draw. And uh, if you go to Facebook, we have Quasar Art Collective as a page on Facebook, and you can share your artwork there, and we'll bring it up on the screen if you do. That's kind of a thing. So if you like on Facebook, you like the Quasar Art Collective, or whatever, or that page, and that's how we can do that. I'm going to go on ahead and get to cracking over here. We can keep talking, but I'm going to bring up. This is the comic I'm working on at the moment. I use Clip Studio Paint for my primary program. So that's what we do here. Oh yeah. So what I was saying was I'm an extrovert, and I'm an artist, which is a totally introverted thing. Which that's the thing, is that it's an introverted thing to be an artist, and I'm not an introvert. And so I started this live streaming every day because this way I can talk to people and be out there and be part of the universe and chat with folks all over the world, and continue to do that. Oh yeah. That's awesome, man. I'm gonna go on ahead and save that. I'm gonna have to write it down because I can do that in the chat function, can't I? I will happily save your information. I mean, generally speaking, we all kind of do our own graphics and stuff like that. However, we're all comic artists. And I have noticed in my years, and I have many of them, that graphic designers and if you're doing a piece, you really kind of want the person who's specialized. So your being a graphic designer actually is useful because you're probably better at it than we are. I mean, we will survive. We'll get by, right? I mean, it's not like we're incompetent. We're certainly better than, like a plumber or something. That's how I learned, man. Cave walls were a thing. I'm just saying. Don't diss the cave walls. I mean, you'll see my work, and I'm famous in Lascaux. I mean, like, you go to France now, famous. Some of my best work's there. Okay, that was a deep cut history joke. Oh man, me too. I got very little sleep last night. Yeah. Good morning, Donald. This is like the most people I've ever had in the stream. This is an amazing stream. We've got a lot going on here. Look at that. Got a whole bunch of people. Starting at 10 o'clock seems to have been a better thing. Well, I mean, there's things like when it comes to graphic design, layout, somewhere along the line, we have to lay out our pages and lay out our I mean, not just the comics. Like when you look at my comics here, you could see like all the work that I've got going on my comics, but you talk about like my cover. I don't know. This cover's still a little weak. So kind of have to work on my cover and things like that. That's not something that, you take lightly. So yeah, definitely I will keep you in the loop here. And like I said, You want to just join our stream and just hang out here with us. And actually, by joining our stream, that is a misnomer. I can't put you on video here because that's a quack thing. Like we have to all decide who's involved in the quack broadcasts. Mostly because we keep these as PG-13 as we possibly can, and it doesn't always work, but we try. Right? But it was a good comic. It was a good comic. And the mammoth, I mean, the twist at the end there where the mammoth was doing the thing. And you know what? I think I'm underrated by that first comic. I really do. I feel like people just, they didn't give it enough of a try. Oh, well. So, it's true. Here comes Donald to go, okay, remember, though, the Avalanche won the Stanley Cup. Hey, and nobody burned Denver to the ground. I got to give props for that. My city is still standing. I'm good. I'm good. I call that a win. We've had a couple of times where, our team kind of took the lead, like when the Broncos got to the Super Bowl, and the last time the Avalanche brought the Stanley Cup here, boy, it's been some everybody's been fine. Everybody's been fine. You've been on Geek Tank, Brand. You know it. You've been on Geek Tank. The only reason you're not on Quack is because we're kind of limiting it at the moment to the cartoonists, and there's no real logic behind that. It's just been sort of the unwritten rule. So maybe we should revisit that. But either way, I'm broadcasting and we're live. I'm going to stay on then since I started late, and I'm good. I'm going to roll through to noon if I can. We should see... because mini painting would be great, but Brent, you're going to have to get a camera that gets your minis. You're going to have to do like my auxiliary camera over here, which has the table. But actually, if you got yourself an auxiliary camera and set up OBS and things like that, might not be bad. Right. Well, no, I feel kind of guilty about it because I do feel like we need to work on the video editing. All right. So what I did do while we were offline was complete page 18. That's this page here. And I completed this page and rolled it up. Last night we had our better spec. He's Gunny. He's the Gunny better spec. Server management and PC building. I don't know, man. That'd be weird. Stone tablet. Yeah. Oh, hey. The nerd that I will not forget. I was gonna. You actually did mention tablet back then, and I know you were making a joke about stone tablets, but have you considered tablets, like an actual tablet? I use a XP Pen 22E, which is the big tablet here. It's a 22-inch tablet, so it's but it's a monitor tablet, and that's really nice. But the thing I really like about this 22E is it does not have touch capability. So I can touch it. I'm touching it right now, and nothing happens. It's only stylus controlled, which is important to me because I tend to drag my hand when I draw. And so I'll put my hand down and then start drawing, and then all of a sudden I touch and control, and everything gets all bizarre. I'm old, and that's a thing. Okay, so back to what I am so spacey today. Here we go. So we have completed now 18. This puts us at completed pages, or it's the inking complete. 4 is complete. 6 and 7 are complete. 8 and 9 are complete. 10 and 11 are done. I need to fix one panel on 12, which needs to be fixed. 14 and 15 are done. 16 and 17 are done. And now 18 is complete. I could probably rattle out 20 because it's all better spec. And then we set up, hey, George, what are you doing? Running off. Yeah. Oh, that's right. You were talking about that before, how you do everything still on your 11 by 17. See? You're not the nerd that I have forgotten. I don't know. Your name just prompts me to say things like that. So there's nothing wrong with that. I was working on a piece yesterday, and I don't have it. I have forgotten your name, but I think it's like Vic or something. Probably starts with a V. Maybe. I don't know. Names are in the gap of my brain where it gets stuck in a crevice somewhere, and that's it. All right. It's Vic. So I didn't forget, but you know what? I should write these down. I say that, I keep saying I'll forget names, and I do forget names. And a lot of people find that to be rightfully, unhappy. Wow. You took it on the chin, didn't you? There we go. Now I won't forget. And I will write down Adley. In case we ever need graphic design. There we go. I hope we didn't lose McApple Custard. But it's 2 a.m. and I think that they are probably zonked. And that's fine. I hope they sleep well. I hope we didn't lose them, but if we did, I hope it's to sleep, because that's brutal. I do not actually. I completely agree with the idea of that. So last night we got a visitor in who came in and was talking about whether we were good with girls or something. I can't remember what it was. It was very funny, and I feel like it started out as a troll, because they were like, you know, how do you get along with the girls? But then my partner came in and she was right behind me and she was waving and talking, and we were talking about, we were talking about playing Magic, and she has a really nasty Magic deck that's based around the Lone Rider. It's all like Crimson Vow stuff, and it's a pretty brutal deck. And so, it's like she's super geeky. She's usually like part-time DM on our games and stuff like that. And I think he was like, oh, because like my partner makes sense. I mean, she's a geek and stuff. And so the guy asked, like, the last question was, does she like my art? And I was like, she's my editor. That's what she does. She edits all of my comic stuff. She's got more comments about characters and artworks than anybody else. I think that took all the wind out of their sails. I feel like they were heading for something, but then kind of lost speed or something. I don't know. It was very funny. I was humored. I was very humored. So here's who we've got going today. We've had. I'm taking notes of this. We've had McApple Custard. We've got Vic. We've got Natalie Brooke, Brent, and Donald. That's a lot of people. Hey. So, okay, Vic, you were saying you're going to whip out Kappa page 1415, Bad Memory. All right, and that sounds... Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. You're going to put a fight scene in. Because I was like, that, I don't know, that sounds like an error my computer would come up with. Bad memory. So I was like, I don't know what that means. I'm going to work on, I think we're going to work on page 20. So we've got our maquette for this guy here. This is our little chakrana. This guy is his name is Gunnery Sergeant Better Spec. His specs are better than everybody else. So, calling to this scene. He's typing stuff in here. We want to look over his, I don't know what you call these, shoulders, I guess is the best possible way, but we're looking over his shoulder. Oh, gotcha. I see now. He's looking at this monitor. So we'll just go ahead and hit go on this and slow everything. I had a coffee for this again. It's true. So this is page 20, 1, 2, 3, 20, panel 3. So we'll bring that in. Actually, go ahead and reverse it so it's close up on him, his little eye stalks here, because he's doing what? Your what hurts? So I've got to back up just enough because I've got to remember that this is a very narrow frame. Because we look at it here, it's narrow. So in order to get both of his little eye stalks in frame, we're going to have to back up a lot because it's going to be this section here. So we're going to hit. That be said, partner, come back in. 21, 2, 3, 4, 20. This is frame 4. So we go in frame 4. I could probably just double use this, except that I don't want to because it's very, very narrow. So we're going to do this. So we're looking just at this section of him. Oh yeah. 6. I'll look over shoulder right here. We're going to put, as called for on this, we have his hands are here. As if the camera was sitting where he's sort of seeing my art partner. She's not up here yet. She'll be up here somewhere along the line. Yes. She knew we weren't. At some point, she was like, "Are you saying?" You mean here or on the screen? This is 5. Oh, your drawing. I'm sorry. I get it now. I'm with you. I'm with you. All right. Let's go ahead and load this page. So 20 and frame 3 is this guy. It's a lot easier to load on here than it was elsewhere. So I'm going to do so Gunny Sergeant Better Spec works in gravitics, and gravitics is the ship's ability to see gravity. The ship's gravity sensors are in the tails here. These are the gravity sensor units right here. So the tails are normally down like this, but they'll extend them out like this to give better range and to see further in gravity waves. So gravity moves at the speed of light. It just slightly different than the speed of light, but not by much. However, in Bellatrix Rising, there is what they call the spiderweb gravity effect. So it came back on, so now I'm broadcasting. I'm just going to broadcast a bit to midnight. I'm going to broadcast to noon, and that'll be fine. And then I'll come down for lunch. Okay. Sounds like so what I call the spiderweb effect. When you take space-time as a fabric and you pull one part of it, it pulls all the rest of it too in a fabric. Using gravitic space-time, and I'm using a sort of a distortion on Einsteinian space with this. But the idea is that you should be able to, like a spider on a spider web, you should be able to see gravity moving, even though the individual particles or the individual units of gravity are moving at the speed of light. All of them move all at once, which means that at a distance, you can still sense things that are happening real time across great periods or great distances in space. But it requires quantum physics to be employed. So there's the science. And it's science fiction. It is totally science fiction. But at least it's somewhat based in science. Not, a whole lot. Okay, we're going to add, with each one of these, I add a normal layer and then expression layer. Oh, hey, look. We are now finally outside of the first part of this comic, which somehow got set to monochrome by accident. So now it's no longer by default monochrome. It's useful. Okay, so starting with page 19, this is the second half, right? Speak science. I always feel like good science fiction has a pinning, at least a little bit, on science fact. So we've got him. He's doing his research. So you're not entirely wrong, Donald. I mean, ticka 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 ticka, right? Ticka ticka. Whoa. He says, whoa. All right. And then we have a console picture saying beep, 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 which we're going to have to come in and do a secondary rendering on, but that'll be fine. Yeah. You're in the wrong panel. Oh, that's right, because we have to click this on, then click this panel, and click this off, and paste. Beep, 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 beep. I need a wrong panel thing. Not just a wrong layer, but a wrong panel. That's true. Man, old person gravity sucks. Start getting that. Get stuck in chairs. Pulled that in and crushed it. I crushed that one, man. You got to admit, that joke, we crushed that joke, us group here. Okay. So working as we have done before, like Kat was talking about. Oof. This is a very, very narrow thing. This panel is really narrow. Oh man, I hate that. Vic's having to go back and rework a page before. I totally feel that one. All right, here's what we're going to do. Here, turn this back on. I'm actually just going to move this. Zoom in even more. There are no fingers involved because it really isn't important that we see his fingers going beep, 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 and typing. Go ahead and do this. Put it underneath the layer. This guy, I think I'm just going to leave him like that. This guy, same thing. There's one of each on this layer. Do that. I feel like I'm just going to draw him in as he stands there and just leave that as a symbol. Done that so many times. Go plot a video. All right. Let's also do a couple of other fixes here. On this top frame here, we have the kitty wake sitting out here, and orbit. And she's in normal space. So we have come back here. I've been working on backgrounds, like a star field with a wall. And this is a good one for just having some ghostly wisps. Everything on the other side of the wall is going to have just some illuminated gases kind of going on for it. So we're going to do that and put that back there like so. And this can both be the same critter. I've made it super big so that I didn't have to do any kind of real editing to it if I don't need to. So we're just going to do that. Right. And this is what we call a full bleed page. So it's going to run all the way off past my bleed markers. So that's going to be a thing. I'm not going to let it go past about halfway down because the rest of this is on board. The rest of the scene. And I really don't want a full amount of that outside edge. This blue and white line is my outside edge. So we're going to cut to that right there. Because these are past the bleed. This isn't even part of what would be on the page at all. So we're going to take then, we're just going to go like through. What we really need to do is this. We need to take this guy here. Oh yeah, that's nice. Thanks. You're just so very helpful. All right, copy it. We're going to go into this panel here. And we're going to paste it. And that way, I can take this panel back to here. I'm going to come up here like this. I'm going to just delete everything from this point down. Like so. And then I'm going to take the eraser tool and go for about half. For a large size tool, like maybe a little larger, maybe 100. Let's go through and do this. Like so. And that way it just has sort of a fade to it. So it's not, not horrible. Right. The next thing we need to do is, I don't print in color, so we're going to take the tonal correction, we're going to take the saturation. We're going to dump the saturation. Still works, still looks good. We'll go up onto this panel right here and do the same thing because we want to make sure we don't have a tonal correction to the saturation. Up the saturation. It gives a little bit of depth and a little bit of interest to the star fields. But in general, it's not that disruptive. If you look at the page here in its entirety, it all seems to work relatively well. We get this panel here where we show our beloved Kittiwake hanging out and doing its thing. I probably should move her down because I feel like her tails need to be underneath this cut line, just in case the page gets cut. Because this is what we call full bleed out here. All of that could be cut at any time with the printer, and you don't want those tails to be cut off. So make sure that's the case. So there we go with that. Then we show that the tail has extended because you see the tail here and then you see the tail extending. And I may have to come in here and do something. Like this is one of the reasons why people will put sound effects in space, even though we all know that there are no sound effects in space. And part of it is because how do you know that this has done what it's doing, right? If I put the classic zhung 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 lines, which show that something is moving, it doesn't tend to be that clear, right? Like that, it's still not clear. So I could do kind of indicating that something's happening here, like that. But now, I mean, the way this kind of looks, it looks like the tail not only went up and extended, but while it was at it, it was like shaking the entire time, you know, like holding while it goes up there. I don't know. That seems like that's not exactly what we were after on this one. So, I'm gonna figure this out. Really, what I probably ought to do is just take to the black here and go like so. Kind of indicate that it once was there, right? And then here, and then that, like so. That kind of indicates that's going up too. And then switch to here just to make sure that we've got kind of the ability to see. Kind of going around there. Kind of think of it as sort of a guide for kind of like going up like that. I don't know. That didn't look as good as I wanted it to either. All right. Well, we'll come back to it, I guess. When I don't like to spend too much time dwelling on something because I have a tendency to hyper focus. And if I'm not careful, I'll get to the point where I don't bother. I can't do anything else, and I'll spend the whole day on it. So, moving to here, I always draw the eye stalks first because the maquette doesn't actually have eye stalks. This is the most expressive part of a chakrana. So, I like to make sure that I draw the eye stalks first so that I don't have there we go. So there are his eye stalks. I'm gonna grab my stool again and sit back down. I hope Can shows up at some point here. Nothing else because I just talk in. There's no one else here to talk to. But so Vic is off watching kung fu videos. There we go. Got it. Got the pose. Excellent. That's the way it should be. And that is the way it shall be. Better Spec is wearing an enlisted uniform, which is gray and not blue. Nightwing level glutes. That's actually awesome. The best part about that is I totally know what you're talking about too. That's so funny because that's perfect. I get it.
it's always funny when Kane and I have discussed this a couple of times. The idea and concept that we keep drawing pieces of the human anatomy, and it's so distant and removed when we draw it that we don't think about, these are parts of a person's body. We never really kind of make that distinction, and then all of a sudden you're kind of like, we are talking about butts, right? We're talking about butts. We're definitely talking about butts. And you have like a sudden, like 12-year-old moment. And it's like, that's funny. I'm going to make sure all of my stripes are sealed up. Good old Better Spec needs his gunny stripes. Right. I'll just seal the entire bottom of this guy up. And that should allow me to just do this. And then I can just thump, bring this up to 100%. And we're good. Deselect. Right? So there's Gunny. He's doing stuff and going beaky, 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 beaky. Right? And what I really need is a bent gravity wave through here, so he can start looking at the gravity analysis. But we'll come back in for that later. And we'll do this panel. Right here. It's kind of looking like this. Doing kind of the wiggly eyes thing where the eyes kind of wiggle, which means that he's kind of having confusion. He's a little confused by what he's seeing. Now we're going to start talking about chakrana, like the way chakrana see things and do things and their behavior and things like that. Chakrana have their own personalities, of course. Better Spec has more personality than some others, because Better Spec is kind of a weird little guy. Put him on the little chair here. I don't know if I Are you an 8th grade teacher? The reason I say that, Vic, is because I used to teach junior high, 7th, 8th, 9th. And so I'm saying this with the, tap, nod of the hat to the other people who work in junior high. Yeah. There is no question about that. 12-year-olds are the best, as you lose them quick. Oh, you're a high schooler that works with them. I get it. I get it. No, same thing. Same thing. You're in the trenches, though. You are in the trenches with them. I get it, man. That's cool. Oh, man. That's fair. Oh, man. So does your school like do some kind of like timeshare thing where you have to go and work with the junior high? Is that what's going on in that? I always wonder because my school didn't do that, and I wish it had, but now it does. Like when my kid went to my same school, they had this great exchange program where they were working with the high schoolers had to go mentor lower elementary kids. So just wondering because like sometimes I think that's really cool. Sometimes I think it's kind of weird. It depends on whether that goes south or not. I guess it goes south quite a bit. And I apologize for presuming on that. So, oh yeah. I get that. I get that. I hear you. That's exactly what happened in my school. We were, I went to a open school. And what that means is it's an alternative education school. So it's like a different. They did more like a college design and less like a traditional school, which I loved. I absolutely loved it. I was able to tailor my career to being. Oh man, why'd you do that? Tailor my career to being an artist and things like that. And I didn't get a lot of the kind of traditional. Well, if you want to be an artist, that's okay, but you got to come up with a real job kind of crap. Um, so that was kind of nice. But it also was the redheaded stepchild of Jefferson County at the time, which was which is the county that I'm in right now. And so, yeah, it was definitely a thing where it was like, and they did the same thing. It's like, yeah, we just don't have the money, so we're gonna shove all you guys in the same building. Sorry. We've got the money for the really rich schools out in Cherry Creek, but you guys, no, come on. Who does that? Same thing. I was like, really? This is the way we're going to be? This is how it's going to be. All right. Here. I'm going to give some life to this, kind of give a little life to the lines here. I'm using the thicken tool. And this just gives a little bit of life to the lines, Not quite so static. Making them not you don't want lines that look too static because then things get boring. So I'm gonna narrow a couple of lines too, go the other direction, like right here, and bring it to a point, and just bring it down just a little. Kind of bring some of this, kind of get into this area right here, right, and it'll make it look a little bit better. And this just makes it work a little bit more. See how it's giving variation to the line? It's giving kind of a life to the line. If I do this right, we get kind of these nice, sort of this kind of effect kind of thing where it's going through. If you're wondering what tools I'm using to do this, I'm using, first of all, we had to use the the vector lines, you want to have a vector layer, which is this button right here for the vector layer. So it's right over here. And we use the vector layer. When I draw the lines and ink this, I'll use the vector lines for this. And so when I do, I have the ability to go down here to this tool. It says the correct line tool. It's the hotkey for it is Y, and it's directly under my picture, or directly above my picture right over here. That's what I'm saying. So then you set, these guys here will pinch the lines or simplify or connect or whatever, because technically speaking, these are all now controllable control points. You can see how I can control each one of these lines if I can. All right, so I've got the ability to control the lines. So there we go. So once I do that, and the reason that I do that is because since this is by itself, I can then take this entire frame and just merge it down, right? And once I do, then I can go in here with the black fill tool and fill everything, apparently. That's not what I wanted to do. However, to make sure that everything is watertight over here, then you can go through with the fill tool and do this, that. Right, we gotta do this number there. Yeah. Okay. So, cool. Cool pool. As Chelsea would say, cool pool. Chelsea says these things. All right. All righty, moving right over to this guy here. We're going to come in here and go tightly in on this. Because really, honestly, I'm not going to do anything other than we're going to give, I don't know why we're on calligraphy pen. That's weird. I'm going to do this number here, come back around, and then go dot, 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 dot. So yeah, I don't blame you. Get the heck out of at that point in time. Don't blame you at all, my friend. I mean, I don't have any problem, any reason why anybody does anything. So we're going to put sunspots on the sun here. And the moment's little sun, a little prominence going out the outside like that. So give the indicator here that's saying something is not right. Maybe even a bracket indicating this. And then a whole bunch of, you know what? I have Tamabeshi. I should use Tamabeshi. So we'll put in Tamabeshi right here. Very small Tamabeshi, but we should read in Tamabeshi. Probably gonna be 2, right? Oh, why did I go blank? Oh, I know why. Went blank because apparently I hit a command control for there we go. Hit a command control for like having a pulse. Yeah, don't blame me, man. That was one of the reasons I actually went to open school, was originally because at North Arvada, which is the local school, things were not going well. All right. So I hear you. I hear you. And it's the same thing. They just were brutal. Everybody was so brutal. It's like, you guys got to have better jobs. You have better things to do with life than that. I feel kind of like I want to do. I want to figure out how to do grids that show a different kind of gravitational push. Because in the way that we see gravity and the way that, like, I don't know, the gravitics would see gravity would be different completely. Wonder if I could do various types of gravity pushes on a network. Like have a circular based gravity well and display it. You know what I mean? Like really trying to figure out how to think this one through. Because I feel like gravitics would show a different kind of pattern going through the system. Oh well. Yeah. This will work for today. I'll come up with a different plan. Yep. Let's do this. Let's make it look cool. And I'll go to white for this. Clean up just a little of where it thinks the planet should have been. So here we got just a rundown in Tamabeshi. Gravitics thinks the system thinks that it should be in a different location, which is exactly the point that we're trying to make here. And maybe we should put, so that there's no confusion, FS 5.0. Or just do 5.0. Because that's, of course, us. It's our hero's ship. It's right here. We have to be kind of careful because I don't want to use English letters for this. So here we go. Guys, I feel like this is an analysis, and that's probably not what we want. I don't think the AI analysis would be like that. I don't know. I mean, this looks like a processed analysis report. Like already somebody has thought it through. Whereas really what I need is I'm looking through things. real quick. Yes, that's what I feel like. I feel like we should be doing a gravity well in a different way. Okay. You knew it was going to happen somewhere along the line. It's going to happen now. Here we go. It was only a matter of time. I'm going to add a mesh, a grid. Right? The question is, can I distort? Mm-hmm. Add a plane, subdivide it a number of times. Select the center vertex. Proportional editing. That's how you do it. Okay. So we're going to go in here, add my modifier. Hit the subdivide. Subdivide surface. Let's do this. Subdivide the surface. Many times? I don't know. Advanced. Oh, I know. There's work here. Okay, we'll call it apply. Yeah. That's it. That's the ticket. Then he was saying enable proportional editing. Page not found. Proportional editing. Blender proportional editing. Icon in the header. Where's my icon in the header? You. Proportional editing options. Okay. Turn you on. Go to the side. Go to edit mode. Proportional editing. We take my widget. And we go like this. Right here. Just want you. See how much of a gravity well we get. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that. Wow. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. How do I adjust my proportional editing? Random. Inverse square. Okay, now I've made a trampoline. I need to drop the affected proportional editing. How much? How do I do that? Smooth. Root. No, still doing it as a sphere, and I don't want it as a sphere. I want sharp. That's what we want. Well, we need gravity wells to indicate where the wells are for things. So, right, escape pole. Like, totally. That's exactly what it looked like to me, too. I was like, well, okay, but that's not how gravity works, but okay. I kind of need it to be rounded. I mean, like at the tip, but it's okay. This will work in a pinch. So, this will work in a pinch. Okay, the ambient music's starting to bother me. So I'm going to switch to down tempo. All right. So there we go. We've got ourselves a gravity well that is like maybe a moon or something. Bring it up to about. I need to do in some kind of different proportional editing. Like, how do I control this? Where's the controller for it? Proportional edit. Why don't you read more about it, guy? Okay. Difficult to make subtle adjustments to the vertices without causing visible lumps and creases. When you face situations like this, the proportional editing tool can be used to smoothly deform the surface of the model. Automatic function selects vertices within a given range. Influence, that's what I need. So it's the wheel up or wheel down. Let's do that. The wheel up or wheel down is only giving that control. Is it? Do I have to start the move and then do wheel up? That's it. That's what we're looking for. I want it to be smooth so that it has sort of a roundish effect. That's I want to do a smaller influence. There we go. Much better. In fact, this was so easy, I'm almost tempted to just make the entire system like this to show where things are gravitically. And then just render this. There's no reason not to just render this, right? Because it's showing an already existing grid. And I mean, like, if I were to take this existent grid and say do this, I can go like so. I can go very, very small. It would indicate a planetary impact and a solar impact like that, right? I'm going to take you and bring you down very small, indicate where the kittiwake is, right? So this would show very much a gravitic position of where everything is gravitically. And this would probably be the most accurate way of looking at the system. In fact, this would probably be an awesome way to look at the system. I don't know. In gravitics, it'd be kind of like this. The question really is, can I just snag this? Is there a reason not to? I could just do this in lines like so. Yeah, look at that. It looks all warpy and everything. Like, no reason to not just take this. I'm going to just take this. Control Shift S. But I can just grab this entire thing straight out of Blender. There's no reason not to. Put it in here, direct, right? Go to this panel right here, paste, move the object, right? Now what we have is literally this, right? So if we were to say transform and tonal correction, reverse gradient, and then transform tonal correction, maybe level correction. We could do something like that. Won't help us any. We could do something like this, right? Yeah, actually, this will work really well. If we do that, that should show really brightly. Take this guy, scale him down. Put him right here. Yeah. This will work fine. Right? And we'll just go and do this, and that'll tell us how much of this information we're going to be keeping. Probably not a lot. That's okay. Work. Kill this data right here. You know what? I don't know why I didn't do this in the first place. Just do this, guy. Just do this the easy way. Stop doing it a hard way. Work. You select. Ooh. I'll do that. So we can come in here and say, I can go work and work. There we go. Now if we do this, I have to go through and tonal correction, hue saturation, make sure it's got no saturation to it. Okay. And now what we can do is do our modifications on it. So go underneath the words. We'll take the words here and we'll flip their color. Because this is the automated system giving information. So we'll flip the words so that it's saying some important stuff that gravitics can understand. Right? And that'll be important things here. And then we'll do the same thing here. This is us. Right? So we're going to be here. And then we'll go, this is a lot nicer. It looks more like you can totally see what's going on. We're going to take then a white line and mark the center point of the system. And then we'll mark this right here with this line information here. And then we'll mark this line to indicate us. This is where we are. This is where we should be. See you later. Have a good day, Vic. And then I will then put right here Hey there, JD Smith. So, this is a gravitics readout of a system called Moment. So, our hero's spaceship has arrived. Here's our hero's spaceship right up here. Has arrived in the system called Moment. And these are gravitic sensors that can tell what gravity is going on inside the system. The plot of this comic is that the planet has moved. So the first part of the comic is that the ship is entering into the system. Because of light speed, they can't see what's going on in the system. It looks perfectly normal to them. And as they come into the system, they drop out of light speed. Yep, someone's looking at the monitor. This guy right here. This is a Shakrana. He's one of my alien races in my story. He works gravitics, and he's looking at the gravitics monitor right here, which is showing him that something's not right in the system. Namely, there should be a planet here, and there isn't. So, that is our problem here. We're going to actually go ahead and do this. So, welcome to the show, by the way. I'm going to add, wow, too big. Not be that huge. No, that's too light. Let's go for 4. So what the system wants to see is here. Nope. Because the thought process is that's where the planet ought to be, around the sun's well. And instead, the planet is here, or at least it's detecting a hit right here in the gravity. So it sees that there's a hit. The sensors are seeing a hit in the gravity over here, but they should be seeing a hit here. And that's part of what's causing our gunny sergeant here. He's a little confused. He's like, uh-oh, that's not right. That's not what should be happening. And he can tell his little eye stalks get wiggly when he gets confused. So he's totally fine here, typing into the system, trying to figure out what's going on using the gravitic sensors. And then looking at the grid, he now is like, uh-oh, that's not good. So that's where we are on this. And move along to the next panel. We can finish this page. And once we do, we're good. So, when we draw Shakrana, we always start with the eye stalks. He's going to have his eye stalks are low now because he's very confused. And so, we come up and then over and then down. And down. And then this guy goes up and then over and then down. And then over and then down. The cool part about using the vector drawing tools in Clip Studio Paint, one of the cool tricks is what we call the inclusion vector eraser. We just do this and that, and it just goes away, except we want to go the other direction, which is this direction and that direction, and poof, gone. So that's one of the nice things about using the vector eraser here, or the vector tools. So he is here. This says LT. You need to look at this. So All right. It's important that I keep reinforcing the number 510, as there's no English spoken in this comic, because they're already way in the future and they don't speak English anymore. Nobody speaks English. And so anytime you see the ship's name written out or anything like that, it's always going to be in what we call Tamarpeshi, which is this mixed language that has come about after years and years and years of these guys all being kind of pooled together with other aliens and things like that. So we've got this sort of pseudo language that goes on here. I'm going to hand draw all this because there's no portion of this anymore. It's here. That. There we go. And he just says right here, we can bring that up, and we can then go through and do what we did before, which is just kind of adjust line width and narrow some of these lines down. We're not going to narrow anything if you're not on the correct layer. Okay, there we go. Oof, that may have been too much. So we're just kind of touching in through here and kind of bringing some of these thicker lines in so that they don't look so by themselves dramatic. I don't mind kind of lines that go out sort of like this, but I want to kind of just bring some of this in, kind of just touch it up a little. Nothing else, so that the lines don't look boring. Right, we don't want these lines to look boring. So there we go. Right, so the page now is complete. I'm going to take that and close it because we don't need that star field anymore. The best part about this is you can read the screen and it means something. But if you don't understand it, in the next scene, Better Spec and Lieutenant Mayrow Legend is explaining it to the captain with a hologram in the center of the bridge. So it's true. So I know that sounds kind of a weird statement. Why boring lines? Line expression is sort of a hallmark of manga style. You know, line expressing the lines, making them look alive to some degree. I mean, for lack of a better term. So we tend to do, as manga artists, we like to do these more expressive, thicker and thinner lines that go everywhere. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and save this. And it takes me a second to save it in. We can close it. All right. This now means that page 20 is complete. And now it's just this scene that needs to be done. which is a big scene, but we can do that in a bit. We have another picture here of Better Spec and Mayrel at this computer console. So I probably should, and I'm going to look around to see if I have anything else where I call for Better Spec on this before I close out that file. Because he's on the bridge, or he's in the radio room. He's in that forward radio room. I don't really see anything else that calls for that. So make sure I've pinned up everything up here too. This is a Jacine, it's not a Chakrana. So I need to worry about my Jacine. There are 4 or 5 life forms, different kinds of life forms that live on a Unity spacecraft. Humans are just one of them. There's the Chakrana, which are the little 3-legged guys that you're just seeing there. There's a Jacine, which they're like jellyfish, but they live in high pressure environments. So when on board a standard spacecraft, they wear a spacesuit with little tentacles coming out the bottom, and they have to build that still in 3D. There's the Najor, which is kind of like a large amoeba, and they tend to take human form just because it's funny. They'll take Jacine form too, or Najor. They'll take any form, Chakrana or Jacine. Yeah, no, actually, they're 3-legged. Like, here, I'll show you what he looks like walking down the hallway. He's got 3 legs. Although I could see that being a metaphor, he really just has 3 legs. They are trilobal. We're bilateral. Everything on the right side tends to match the left side. They're trilateral, so everything on one side matches the other 2 sides. So, with the exception of their little eye stalks, which are not bilateral. And the truth actually is that as a child, you can move those eye stalks to any one of these positions. They just tend to set in after a while on one side. So, but yeah, that's what these Chakrana look like. The Jacine, here, I'll show you what the Jacine looks like. The Jacine look like these guys. It takes it a second, but that's what the Jacine look like when they're not in their little spacesuits. So there's a story-based problem with computers not you working in warp drive. If you imagine like this is like Star Trek, every time they go to warp, the PCs go offline. So they have a very steampunk world in warp drive. So that it's very much levers and pulleys and cables. You can get some basic electronics, like you can get light bulbs will work, but because of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, any system that's smaller than like a millimeter, any switch that's smaller than a millimeter won't work at speeds. And in fact, the faster you go, the more the electron cloud of an atom gets bigger, to the point where you can no longer use an electron even to use lights. So at some speed, the human brain stops working. The lights of the spacecraft turn off. Things like that. It's a function of in space. So when they're in normal space, traveling around like normal spacecraft, then the Jacine don't use the spacesuits. They just holographically project, and they sit right next to you, looking very much like this, with just like a jellyfish floating right next to you. And then the artificial intelligences, which is the 5th race, also can appear. But in space, these guys have to wear spacesuits because they are generally at super high pressures. They come from a gas giant planet, and they live at super high So this is the other. There are 5 intelligent races, and this is one of them. These guys live on the outside of moons. So they're a race that lived in vacuum. So they don't care. You put them in here, they're fine. You put them in space, they're fine. They don't care. Then the humans wear a spacesuit, which routinely allows, it has reaction control thrusters that are built into the arms, into the legs, so that if they get ejected into space, it gives them about 2 hours of life support, oxygen, and pressure, and will allow them to maneuver with arms and legs. Those are arms and leg thrusters that will allow them to at least come back to the ship, because they will get ejected out and then thrown away from the ship by the explosion of air, so they can then turn around and then thrust their way back to the ship. Hopefully they're fine once they get back. So that's how we kind of have going on here. Welcome to my comic story here, which is complicated. Been working on it for a while. This was my COVID experiment. While we were on lockdown, there was nothing better to do. I had been drawing a Star Trek fan comic for a long time, and my dad and I were talking, and my dad had said, "How many pages of that comic did you do?" And I'm like, "Well, 300 or so." And he's like, "You can't sell that. There's nothing you can't publish that. You can't do anything. It all belongs to CBS." So he said, "Why don't you just do what that McFarlane guy did? Change the Federation to the Union, and make your uniforms different and everything like that, and then keep telling the stories, but they're different than Star Trek." And I did, and when I started world building, I got really into it, and I made up all kinds of newer and different things and solved all the things that I kind of in my head said, "Gosh, I wish Star Trek had fixed that." Like the fact that all the aliens in Star Trek are all just people with funny, bumpy foreheads, and that's it. So my aliens are alien. They're super alien. All right. But the big thing is, just like Star Trek, I don't treat them any different. Like my little, this is Gunny Sergeant Better Spec here. In this 2-page spread, here's Gunny Sergeant Better Spec and the captain. And the pilot, this is the pilot. So they're all just talking to each other through this whole thing, It's like they're having their normal discussions. Captain says, "Hey, what happened?" And Better Spec says, "We hit a bad thing." And so the captain's busting the pilot's chops here and saying, "Hey, that sounds like a calculation error, a navigation error." And the pilot's like, No, I didn't make a mistake, I promise." And then, the captain says, "Well, what happened then?" "Well, I don't know what happened, but I did the math like 3 times." And then the gunny sergeant says, "I checked her math. It was fine." So then she's like, "I'm just busting your chops," sort of thing. That's kind of what we got going on here. But one of the rules of my comic is that the aliens are not treated any different than you or me or anybody else. They just look different, but everything's still the same. So we are at the point here where I'm looking at an overview of how many pages we've completed. So I've still got to complete this page here because I don't have a Jacine yet. I don't have the spacesuit for him. So I've got these 2 pages are complete. These 2 pages are complete. These 2 pages are mostly complete. They haven't been colored in, but they're complete. I need to fix this one panel right here. And then this is probably going to be the very last thing that I do is page 13, because I need a number of different locations. I need to show that the crew is full of Jacine and Shakrana and Najor, and they're just everybody going everywhere. because they're manning battle stations. So we got lots of stuff kind of going on that page, but it's going to take forever for that to happen. This page is done, this page is done, this page is done, this page is done. This page is done, but 19 is not. 20 just got completed, and now we're into the other half of the story where we only have the machines done. And our ship. Ooh, we could fix 23. What 23 needs to be fixed? Because she should be in that starfield too. So I'll bring up my starfield. We just have that. Starfield with the wall. Take you, because this could fix this up real nice. Resize it. So we meet every day in here, and there's not just me, it's a number of artists. Just happens to be me today because there was a problem with the streaming service. It got weird, and so I think the other guys were like, well, guess we don't have to work today. Accountability. This is an accountability thing for me, so I do this every day so that I will continue to draw. I want to have a complete episode, which is 2 issues of this, completed before May of next year, so that I can put them out on a table. I'm tabling next year as normal. I've been off tabling for COVID. So for the last 3 years, I've been off for not tabling at a convention. But I've gotten all my vaccine shots, and I'm about to get a booster on my birthday for the 4th booster because I'm coming up on 50. Not proud of that. Anyway, not like there's anything I can do about it. So I want to table at a local convention. So what's going to happen is I'm going to be doing the tabling, and the guy who's in charge of that convention really wants me to have this story, at least one episode ready by the time we get to that convention. So we're going to try to finish this and the 2nd issue so that we will have one complete episode, which will be 64 pages done. So this is an accountability program. I do this most of the time. I do this at night from 10 to midnight Mountain Time, but I'm also not working during the day right now. I'm a driving instructor usually, so I go and do driving instruction. The way the company is working, they've got me 2 on, 2 off for classes. So this week I'm not teaching classes, so I'm also then doing 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Mountain Time. The only reason that we're at 11:56 a.m. today is because Restream got really broken this morning, and there was something very wrong with it. We got there, so we figured it out at some point, and we were okay. But it was kind of weird, so I have to see how that works. So anyway, I am out of time for the day because we only have 4 minutes left. I really appreciate all the people who were here. We've had a lot of people today. This has been really cool. I appreciate all of you guys joining me for the day, and I'll see you guys again tonight at 10 o'clock Mountain Time, 10 p.m. Mountain Time, if you guys want to join me. So feel free. If you are the kind of person who does art or does anything, you want to do woodworking, or you need to do any project that you need to do that you just kind of need to stay on target and need somebody to kind of stick with you, that's what we do. That's the whole point of this. So feel free to come back and join us and join me and just draw with us, chat with us, talk. You're totally welcome. I can't put you on camera because that's kind of complicated with Restream,
but you are more than welcome to come back again at any time. Again, I'll be broadcasting for the rest of this week. I believe. Just double checking. Yeah, I don't have anything planned for the rest of the week. So I'll be broadcasting from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and then 10 p.m. to midnight Mountain Time. So you can join me at any time. So I'm going to go on ahead and get out of here and go get lunch. Because that's what I'm really after is lunch. I mean, because I'm hungry. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me, JD Smith, digital artist. I appreciate it. I appreciate having you here. Also, Vic, thank you for joining me. I know you went back to, you had to go to class. Donald, you were here for a while. Brent, you were here. Thank you. Brent is always here. Brent is perpetually here. And Donald's perpetually here as well. Also, Adley Brooke, shout out to you. And of course, we had earlier on McApple Custard coming from down under. I appreciate all of you guys who are here. Thank you very much. And I hope, by the way, McApple Custard, good heavens, it's like 4 a.m. now there where you are. So I hope to goodness you finally conked out and went to sleep. If so, cool. We'll be back at 10 o'clock tonight, which will be the middle of the day for you. So you can join us then. And so I will see all of you guys later. Thank you for joining me and have a great day. Bye-bye.